Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from News about Desawe Kanda. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond this evening. We're also live on 3FM 927 on Facebook and also on YouTube. Former Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund CEO Solomon Asamoah and board chair Professor Ameyam Ekumfi slapped with multiple criminal charges in connection with a $2 million SkyTrain scandal. We have the very latest from the courts for you. Also this evening, former director of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Adu-Boahene, rearrested and detained by IOCO over fresh charges. Ghana Railway workers laid down their tools in protest against 7 months salary arrears. We've got details for you of this particular one in reaction shortly here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7.
Yes, I can say, I had my busman soon. Echo busman watching. Yakatia. Na yenyo bia so ntimi me kan kire se ene ana okira metu amuka.
That's exactly what we'll be getting into here on Hot Edition. The Bank of Ghana to kickstart series of engagements as Ghana commemorates 60th anniversary of its beloved currency, the Cedi. And we'll give you updates as well in the latest in the world of business and sports over the next 1 hour, 30 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. And your Hali guys here with a summary of the news.
In today's summaries, the Bank of Ghana has announced plans to commemorate the 60 years since the introduction of the Cedi as Ghana's official currency with a series of nationwide events scheduled between July and December 2025. The Cedi was introduced on July 19, 1965, replacing the Ghanaian pound as the country's sole legal tender. Now, consumers can expect to see a significant drop in prices of products on the markets by the end of May. The president of Traders Advocacy Group Ghana, David Kwejo Amwating, has said that the anticipated price reduction followed the recent appreciation of the Cedi against major trading currencies, particularly the US dollar. Now, Ghana is turning to China's new zero tariff policy for least developed countries as US trade benefits under the AGOA decline due to new tariffs. The move supports President John Maham's 24-hour economy with calls for stronger investment in agriculture, processing to boost export of cocoa, cashew and fruits. Experts say aligning local production with global standards is key to tapping into China's growing markets. And before I go, Samuel Atacha, the lawyer for Kwabena Adu-Boahene, that's the former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, has disclosed that his client has been rearrested and detained by the Economic and Organized Crime Office. According to Atacha, this new arrest, which took place on the midnight of May 13, 2025, is in relation to investigation into a set contract between the Ghana Water Company Limited and the National Security for the provision of internet service to the Ghana Water Company Limited.
Yeah, thank you so much. This morning is on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions are welcome. And the NPP has been addressing the press on some issues. We'll touch base with that shortly and also give you an update on that here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're also streaming live at 3FM 927 on Facebook and also on YouTube. Share with us your views, thoughts, and opinions. And let's go straight into the matters. At the Accra High Court has granted a bail of 15 million cedis with 2 sureties to the former Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund CEO Solomon Asamoah. He has pleaded not guilty to causing financial loss to the state, dissipation of public funds, and conspiracy to commit crime. Solomon Asamoah was charged together with former board chair of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, Professor Ameyam Ekumfi, over the misappropriation of some $2 million meant for the construction of a SkyTrain system in Accra, which was never built. Well, Dennis Poperi Square has been getting into this latest development as we speak right now. He's joining us in the studio. Dennis, good to have you. Now, let's get into the background of this whole SkyTrain saga and how the matters have traveled to this point.
Well, so Alfred, you would recall that somewhere last week, was the last 2 weeks, that Attorney General had mentioned that he was actually officially going to charge persons who were involved in this SkyTrain matter. He did indicate that the former board chair of the GIF, together with the chief executive officer former chief executive officer, were going to be officially charged. And this has been a long-running matter. There's been conversations that, yes, Ghana had gone into an agreement to build the Sky Train. We recall that promise that was made, pictures flying all over, and how it was going to transform our transport sector, especially in the face of growing traffic in the urban areas, especially in Accra. That was advertised. It never came to light. We got to realize that some monies were paid, and that was the end of it. This government, on coming into power, said they were going to look into the space and see who had done what wrong, for which reason that money was used and we didn't get the results that we were looking for. So yes, that put together is what we have now on the charge sheet. 2 people are standing accused for this particular event. Now they have to answer questions in respect of some 6 counts of conspiracy to, 6 counts of willful causing financial loss to the state and in its varied forms. So basically that's what it is. We understand that they were put before the court a while ago for their plea to be taken. We understand they pleaded not guilty in that respect. Bail had been considered. But Alfred, yes, before we even go into the specific charges that have been leveled against them, it's instructive for us to look at the summary of facts that usually would accompany the charge sheet.
Absolutely.
That gives you a sense of what the matters really are and on what basis these charges have been preferred against the persons.
True.
So they try to let us understand what this, even the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund itself is and what it sought to do. This was established in 2018, and yes, that was supposed to be the vehicle through which government was going to make instructive investments into infrastructural matters. So essentially, all the monies that came from our VAT, some from grants and donations and other voluntary contributions were going to be, or as it still stands, GIF is still running,
yes,
but that basically is the source of money for that. So somewhere in 2018, at the Ministry of Railway Development, they initiated a program, and that program was to promote and facilitate commercially viable mass urban transport infrastructure projects in the country. So this project was to be implemented by, now they just wanted to give that concessionary right to a private sector to develop and operate urban transport services. And that was where the whole thing started. Now, in that regard, the ministry, and I'm talking about the Railways Development Ministry, they signed a memorandum of understanding with a company called African Investment Holdings Limited. This was a limited liability company which was incorporated in South Africa. Now, pay attention to this. They signed an MOU with Africa Investor Holdings Limited. This was a company incorporated in South Africa. Now, the project basically was to be called the Accra Sky Train. The project was to be constructed on a design, build, finance, and operate basis. In this MOU, GIF was to be the anchor equity investor and the local development partner to the said company. That's Africa Investor Holder Limited. Now, what it basically means is that when it comes to what was going to be happening in Ghana with regards to feasibility studies and all that, it was GIF that was in charge of that. It was also agreed as part of this MOU that GIF, yes, would conduct due diligence. That GIF would conduct due diligence. I'm saying that for emphasis because as we go along, it will be one of the bases for which these persons are being charged because they are alleged to have failed to do this due diligence. And also to undertake or develop a bankable feasibility study on the project. Now let's move forward to January 2019. Now there was also another shareholders agreement that was signed between Africa Investor Holdings Limited. Now this time, even though it has the same name as the first company, this was a company that was incorporated in the Seychelles with a different registration number. Now this shareholders agreement was between that Africa Investor Holdings Limited and then GIF on the other side. Now the content...
So this Africa Investment Holdings Limited was the special purpose vehicle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So now, in this shareholders agreement, The agreement was that this Africa Holdings Limited was to transfer some 10% of some shares. Now, in this statement, they say alleged shares, but some 100% shares, it said it had in another company called AI Skytrain Consortium Holding. They say they have 100% shares in another company called AI Skytrain Consortium Holding. And they agreed with GIF that they were going to transfer the 10% of the shares they have in that company to GIF. So the first accused person. Now, first accused person in this instance refers to Solomon Asamoah, who was the then chief executive officer of GIF.
Right.
So Solomon Asamoah signed that agreement to the effect that, yes, the transfers be made. So in essence, if they transfer shares to you and you want to own them, you have to pay.
True.
So that was where we began to part money, at least according to what we have by way of the facts presented.
I see. You know, very interesting development as we have it. This, and if you're just joining us, this is my colleague Dennis just running through the compendium of events that have actually now culminated into this charge sheet that the Attorney General presented today earlier in court, charging the former CEO of GIF, Solomon Asamoah, and the board chair, Professor Christopher Ameyam Ekumfi, over the misappropriation of some $2 million meant for the construction of the SkyTrain system in Accra, which was never built. Lord Edwasari is our legal affairs correspondent. He was in court today. Lord, first of all, tell us exactly what the Deputy Attorney General who was in court today told you after the court sitting today.
Well, Alfred, so basically the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Stremsai, he's been saying that the primary focus or objective of oral is to effectively recover all the funds that the various accused persons, not only in this matter of Solomon Asamoah and then Professor Ameyam Ekumfi, all the other accused persons in the various cases that they are put before the court, that they are open to them recovering the funds. So he says that if they bring the money, it's something that they are very much welcome to. But let's head back to court, because when the case was called, Professor Ameyam Ekumfi, so he's the second accused person, he failed to show up in court, and then his lawyer told the court that he had a medical emergency. As a matter of fact, he told the court that he's actually on admission at the University of Ghana Medical Center, and that was why he did not come to court. And then Dr. Stremsai actually corroborated what he said. He indicated that indeed he had been made aware of the predicament of the former board chair of GIIF, because prior to yesterday or today, when they got to learn of the update, he had been cooperating with investigators who were on this matter, and so it is not really news to them. He knows that he's been very cooperative in the matter, and so it was the reason why it was only the ex-CEO of GIF, Solomon Asamoah, whose plea was taken today. He pleaded not guilty to all the charges that were proffered against him. That has to do with causing financial loss to the state, conspiracy to commit crime, and then one other charge as well. He pleaded not guilty to all of them.
Right.
So that's basically what happened in court today, Alfred.
Let's hear from Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Adam Stremsai when he was speaking to you, journalist, outside of the court today.
Has lost so much money through some of these decisions that public officials, some political, some civil, have made in this country. The primary objective of the ORA is to recover the money. We are open, and we cannot be tired of saying that we are open for anyone who, like the people of Ghana, the rest as to whether the company exists, whether there is any investment actually made, whether the money went to some people's pockets, whatever happened, the rest we would present them in court for the judge to decide, unless we are accused of, trying to try the accused persons in in the media.
And then from me, your boss seems to be one who likes the idea of backing $2 million. If you're able to raise that money, is it okay for the state?
Look, let's be frank here. Our policy of recover the loots is simply primary. I mean, the first objective is to get the money. Because this country, as we know, has lost so much money through some of these decisions that public officials, some political, some civil, have made in this country. The primary objective of the ORA is to recover the money. We are open, and we cannot be tired of saying that we are open for anyone any of the accused persons or suspects in the other cases who think that they have the money and could return the money. We will be happy to have these monies to be used to solve some of the problems that we have in this country. Healthcare problems, transportation problems, salary problems, so many other problems that we have, sanitation problems. President John Mahama is interested in solving those problems, and we need money to solve them. So again, let me repeat that we will be happy to take any money that anyone has. And of course, the law allows us to have plea bargaining, which means that based on certain conditions and circumstances, we could vary the case that we put before the court or the consequence of the crimes that we are alleging in court. So once we do that, and let me tell you, a number of people have approached us with offers, some including monies being returned. And we have agreed with some of them, and some of them have agreed to be witnesses for us against some of the accused persons. So I think we are on track when it comes to the recovery. There's no better way of recovering the money than voluntary recovery. So if the people are willing to give us, we will take it. But that is not to say that you can keep the money and then serve jail terms and go for it, because there is an active process. The Attorney General has instituted an active process of recovering, tracing these monies. So I would say that whether you do it voluntarily or not, we will do whatever it takes in the name of the Republic of Ghana to retrieve every pesewa that we can from private hands and restore those monies to the people of Ghana and to the taxpayers of this country.
I think for the purposes of
Ghana citizens will be justified by two sureties. With the property for justification should be landed property located within the Greater Accra region. So these were the conditions.
So we noticed that Officer Ameyam Ekumfi, the second accused person, was absent. So are they really documented?
Yes, so I think on Friday we were informed that he was indisposed and had been taken to the hospital. He was supposed to report on Monday. He was discharged, but this morning we were again informed that he was indisposed again and had been hospitalized. So you could see that his lawyers were in court. What this means is that he was supposed to be in court this evening, but we were again informed that he could. No, the press conference is not. The AG will hold press conference when the need arises. In this particular case, we believe that the issues are already in the public. The new journalists are very much aware of the Sky Train issues. It was first raised in the Auditor General's report, so I don't think anyone is in a doubt as to the facts of this case. So there may not be any press conference on this. But where there's a new case which will require thorough briefing, we believe that the people of this country are entitled to know every bit of what we are doing with the power they have given us. So we'll hold press conference when the need arises.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Counsel.
Thank you.
Well, so Lord, when next is this case expected to be called?
Well, Alfred, so the case has been adjourned to May 20, by which time they are hoping that Professor Ekumfi would have recovered and then his plea will be taken.
Appreciate you for this. Lord Adu-Boahene is legal affairs correspondent. So Dennis Papere still with me in the studio. So clearly, what the Deputy Attorney General, you heard him say in there, one of the major takeaways in that long engagement with the journalists after the court hearing today was that some people have approached the Attorney General to refund some of the monies. And these people are going to be, in fact, they have agreed to be witnesses for the state against some of those who have not yet agreed to the plea bargain. That's striking, is it not?
Yes, and that's consistent by this Attorney General. Attorney General, I use this in the sense of the department, because you recall that when the Attorney General himself spoke, he had indicated how willing he was to cooperate with people who are ready to testify and how he was going to ensure their protection if they're willing to do so. He expressly mentioned that they would, he's willing to engage them or to have deals with them just so they are protected enough to testify in this matter. There's also been issues about whether or not the accused persons can approach the Attorney General to engage in plea bargaining, just to see if they can return some of the things that are alleged to have been taken away or stolen when it's money, so that they will not go into trial. So, I mean, I get the sense that this Attorney General's department is coming with a different orientation altogether. They do not seem to be bent on prosecution and going through a full trial, but as and when they can negotiate and come and meet themselves halfway within the remits of the law, they are quite willing to do that. At least that's the sense I get from the communication from the Attorney General and his deputy in all of that. But Alfred, we were at a point where there was an agreement between GIF and then the company that was supposed to be a partner in this Accra SkyTrain development, now having agreed for 10% shares in another company to be transferred to GIF. Now, the Attorney General says that in furtherance to that, the first accused person signed a shareholders agreement on behalf of GIF for that transaction to be done. What that in essence means that GIF was buying shares in another company called AI SkyTrain Consortium Limited. It was in furtherance to that some $2 million was paid. And when you read paragraph 6 of the summary of facts as presented by the AG, it indicates that a few weeks later, that's on February 4, 2019, AI SkyTrain Consortium Holding, citing the shareholders agreement as a basis, wrote a letter in which it made a request for the payment of a lump sum of $2 million United States dollars as a price for the alleged shares.
I see.
On February 25, 2019, the first accused person and the second accused person, jointly in a letter with reference number, they indicate the number, instructed United Bank for Africa, and that is GIF's bankers, to transfer $2 million United States of American dollars from GIF Project Development Company account to the bank account of Africa Investor Holding Limited in Mauritius. The payment was duly effected, after which nothing was heard or said or done by GIF and its governing board on the alleged share acquisition. Nothing was ever said or heard of the $2 million either. Now, Alfred, I did indicate that we needed to pay attention to what GIF was supposed to do under the project, which was the due diligence. Yes, so when you read paragraph 8, it did indicate that in addition to the due diligence requirement, which was contained in the MOU as the GIF's obligation, GIF's internal investment policy requires GIF to, before embarking on any investment, follow an elaborate procedure for bankable feasibility studies and assurances. These procedures included, but not limited to, a prior GIF internal investment committee assessment, recommendations, and then approval by GIF's board, governing board. Investigations, however, reveal that no such due diligence procedures or processes were followed or engaged by GIF prior to parting with the $2 million United States dollars. Further investigations reveal that no board approval was sought or obtained for the share acquisition or the $2 million United States dollars payment. Now they conclude by saying that in his investigation, in his police investigation caution statement, first accused persons, that's the former CEO, claims that he sought or obtained the approval of GIF governing board in respect of the share acquisition and the $2 million dollar payment. This claim was, however, refuted by each of the other members of the governing board in their respective police investigation caution statements. In a sense, Attorney General is saying that they contradicted themselves in their police investigative caution statement. Further investigations reveal that no board minutes or company records supports the claim by first accused. On his part, the second accused insisted in his police investigation caution statement that he signed the bank transfer instruction on the recommendation of the first accused person. So first accused person, former CEO, board chair, is saying that he signed it on his instructions. neither the first accused person nor the second accused person have been able to account for the $2 million transfer. Based on these facts, the accused persons are arraigned before this honorable court. So that's the summary of the facts for which these persons have been charged with 6 counts, including willful causing financial loss to the Republic, and also there's also the offense of intentional dissipation of public funds. So yes, that's the summary of it as we have it before us now. And matters are going down in court as our court correspondent and legal affairs reporter, Lord Edwasari, has rightly indicated. The court has just taken the plea of the first accused person. The second accused person is indisposed. They'll come later to take his plea, and then they take it from there, Alfred.
All right, some good detail in there. Thank you very much. And bringing our listeners and our viewers up to speed with how events are played out over the period, at least for the uninitiated, so you can also follow every step of the way how issues have been over the period till now. But let's still stay a bit further in court. Reason being, the case of the former Signals Bureau Director Kwabena Adu-Boahene has taken a new turn as he was rearrested and is currently in detention at the Economic and Organized Crime Office on a separate charge. The ex-spy chief was rearrested and detained at midnight of May 13, 2025. That's today. On May 2nd, 2025, the court granted Adu-Boahene bail at the sum of 80 million Ghana cedis after his lawyers successfully argued for a reduction from the initial 120 million cedis bail condition. Adu-Boahene and his wife, Angela Ejay-Boateng, alongside a third accused, Mildred Donko, and Advantage Solutions Limited, are facing 11 counts of conspiracy to commit crime, stealing, using public office for profit, money laundering, and causing financial loss to the state. They are alleged to have stolen 49.1 million Ghana cedis from the state coffers. Meanwhile, the Accra High Court has reinstated the bail terms for Adu-Boahene following the expiration of his 7-day detention. Here is his lawyer, Samuel Atachian, speaking to the media after the court proceedings earlier today on the detention of his client and what they intend to do going forward. Take a listen to him.
At the last sitting, the judge ordered that he should have his freedom yesterday. And they said they have another matter that they are investigating concerning him. So when he was supposed to have his freedom, by their calculation, they released him midnight and then rearrested him on the basis of the newfound matters they were looking at. But the question is, in the period in which he had the freedom, why didn't they deal with the matter? And they'll leave it till midnight and rearrest him. Is somebody very excited that incarcerating another Ghanaian with all manner of tactics will aid justice? And that is unfortunate.
So is he in the custody of Yoko right now?
He's gone back to Yoko, and I'm going there now for me to come to terms with what is the new matter, what is the new issue. You see, because he's been there all this while, and if there were serious matters of consequence, and he's on bail, huge bail, 80 million Ghana cedis bail. He's living nowhere. Adu-Boahene's name and that of Angela, they are all over the nation, our borders and our airports. They are going nowhere. So I believe that we should come clean that this is not a personal vendetta. This is a man that you believe you have some criminal case against, and give him space to defend himself. And give him also the freedom that now the Supreme Court has decided that there's no case which is not bailable, including murders. Provided always they will exact on you conditions for you to appear before the court to defend yourself. So I do not think we are going to rewrite the criminal jurisprudence of Ghana because of one man.
This fresh arrest, does it include the wife and the third accused person?
I am not sure, who are involved, and I'm going to find out from them what it entails, then I'll be able to address it.
Do you know the matter in which he's been arrested for?
I've been hinted that it relates to secured internet services for the benefit of another state institution, the Ghana Water Company. That national security provided them with gadgets and well-meaning things so that if you are even in your room, you're able to see the pipes, whether they are not being tampered, because national security surmise that water is a national security matter. When your water is polluted, it will affect the entire nation.
So, Council, last week, a leaked letter that Adu-Boahene authored was released in the public domain. How does that, from the details of that letter, how does that affect your case?
Well, it was unfortunate that it leaked, because the letter was intended for the National Security Coordinator, in which he was trying to let him know that where he is, national security matters are being raised. And he should come to terms with it. That's what he was trying to do. He was not saying that he's afraid to defend himself, but he's saying that they are pushing him in areas of national security. And when pushed to come to shove, he has to defend himself. And somebody will turn around that why is a national security intelligence officer trying to bring into the public domain national security matters when he's sworn an oath. So you swear an oath, the national security will not come to your aid, so you go to jail. That would be unfortunate.
All right.
It will be a tragedy that cannot be calculated. So that was the intent of the letter. The letter was not supposed to come into the public domain. He wrote to the coordinator, the successor national security coordinator, to look into the matters which, unfortunately, Attorney General and Yoko are pushing. Are they pushing national security matters into the public domain? And if you should respond to those matters, are they not going to turn around?
Well, that's Samuel Atacha there. He's a lawyer for Kwabena Adu-Boahene, the battled former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, in there speaking to journalists in court earlier today. Now, if you recall, the Attorney General in the last press conference did hint of this Ghana Water Company Limited contract and what they intend to do in filing separate charges against Kwabena Adu-Boahene and on the matter of that particular contract with the Ghana Water Company Limited, which per the AG's update, there was really no delivery of the said contract, but some 1.5 million cedis was spent or paid to Kwabena Adu-Boahene every month.
The membership of the committee was, changed, and then the monies from the sanitation levy were channeled to my friend, and so on and so forth. I'm not friends with whoever. I have evidence to prove it, and the docket is replete with documentary evidence of the wrongdoing that has been investigated. Having said that, I wish to let it be known that the delay in filing charges came about because our diligent investigation team came across yet another scheme hatched by Mr. Adu-Boahene, this time involving Ghana Water Company Limited. This criminal enterprise involved the purported provision of secured internet services to Ghana Water Company Limited by the erstwhile Bureau of National Communications, now National Signals Bureau. The contract document showed that Ghana Water was to pay BNC, that is the national BNC, the sum of 650,000 Ghana cedis every 2 weeks for secured internet services from BNC, that is the Bureau of National Communications. However, for purposes of the payment, Kwabena Adu-Boahene provided the account details of his company, BNC Communications Bureau Limited, to Ghana Water, which religiously paid for the internet services. In other words, every 2 weeks when 650,000 Ghana cedis of money from Ghana Water left the bank accounts of Ghana Water, instead of going to the National Signals Bureau account, it went to the account of a company known as Bureau of National Communications, owned by Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his wife. Okay? and then they did what they wanted to do with the money. So for every month, Ghana Water paid 1.3 million Ghana cedis to Kwabena Adu-Boahene and his company in exchange for internet services provided by the government. Because remember that the National Signals Bureau is a government agency. Now come to think of it, that the government agency is providing secured internet services to Ghana Water Limited, a limited liability company solely owned by the same government. And Ghana Water is spending money that they do not have, okay, to pay for internet services at that cost, 1.3 million Ghana cedis every month. In fact, the figure rose to 1.5 million Ghana cedis every month at the close of our investigations. Now, you remember that in 2020, Bureau of National Communications became National Signals Bureau. And so, because the contract documents stipulated that the payments be made to Bureau of National Communications, Ghana Water then demanded that the check payments be made to National Signals Bureau because of the change in the corporate identity of BNC. What then happened was that any time the check was made out to National Signals Bureau and it landed in the accounts of National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Adu-Boahene, as Director of National Signals Bureau, would then immediately write a check to himself and transfer the money. From our investigations, you can see the movement of the money. Immediately it comes from Ghana Water, he signs a check and transfers the money into the, his personal company account. Now, today something happened in court. Counsel for the defense told the judge that whatever I had said was a figment of my own imagination. But of course, he is entitled to earn his fee. So he can say that.
That's Dr. Dominic Ayine. He's Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Republic of Ghana. And you're so live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W93.5 in Y and beyond. If you're just joining us earlier today in court in the case of the former Signals Bureau Director Kwabena Adu-Boahene, that's taking a new twist and turn as he was rearrested and is currently in detention at the Economic and Organized Crime Office on a separate charge. The ex-spy chief was rearrested and detained at midnight today. On May 2nd, if you recall, the court granted Adu-Boahene bail at the sum of 80 million cedis after his lawyers successfully argued for a reduction from the initial 120 million. Adu-Boahene and his wife, Angela Boateng, alongside a third accused, Mildred Donko, and Advantage Solutions Limited, are facing 11 counts of conspiracy to commit crime, stealing, using public office for profit, money laundering, and causing financial loss to the state. They are alleged to have stolen some 49.1 million from the state coffers. So the latest relates to this Ghana Water Company Limited contract, which you heard Dr. Dominic Ayine detail in full in that voice I just played to you. Now, you do not run a country without someone being in charge, unquote. These are the words of government this governance expert, Professor Bafwa Jimendia, on the minorities' concern over the absence of the president, the vice president, and the Speaker of Parliament to govern. According to him, the absence of the three leaders is an administrative oversight which must not be repeated. Evelyn Tengman reports.
Article 60 of the 1992 Constitution states that whenever the president is absent from Ghana or is for any other reason unable to perform the functions of his office, the vice president shall perform the functions of the president until the president returns or is able to perform his functions. It further said, where the president and the vice president are both unable to perform the functions of the president, the Speaker of Parliament shall perform those functions until the president or the vice president is able to perform those functions or a new president assumes office, as the case may be. The Constitution, however, is silent on who acts in the absence of the three individuals. On Monday, May 12th, President Mahama was on an international assignment in Togo. The vice president is still away on medical grounds. The Speaker, Alban Bagbin, according to the Minority Caucus in Parliament, is out of the jurisdiction, leaving the country with no constitutionally mandated leader. But is that a big deal?
It is, in fact, a big deal. In all countries, constitutions make provision for the absence of the head of state or the president. Because, as you know, there's a saying, power abhors vacuum. Of course, I'm not anticipating any war between Ghana and any other country, but historically, that's the reason. There must always be somebody in charge of a country. That's why our Constitution cleverly indicated that, of course, if you have a vice president, he should take over when the president travels. And in the absence of the vice president, the Speaker of Parliament should assume power. In fact, when I realized that all these three individuals were out of the country, I was wondering why I haven't heard any announcement. You do not run a country without somebody in charge.
Professor Bafo Ajimandua said it is a serious administrative oversight committed by the Chief of Staff and advocated the Constitutional Review Commission takes up this matter to ensure someone steps in case all the three individuals are not available.
But even in the absence of the Speaker, if such a letter goes, there is an office of the Speaker. So with such an important communication from the executive, there must be a way for the office to contact the Speaker wherever he is, for the Speaker to give instructions as to what you have to do. See, governance requires so many things. You need to pay attention, especially if you are talking about constitutional democratic government.
He, however, does not think the president can be punished for the lapse. Neither could it be deliberate on the part of government or the president for all three leaders to be out of the jurisdiction at the same time, as suggested by the minority in its statement that it was not a mistake but deliberate on the part of government.
I do not know why any president or government would deliberately flout this requirement. Our president is not a new president per se. He's been there before for 4 years. Perhaps it was an administrative oversight by the office of the president. These things are not things you expect the president himself to do. He has a whole machinery supporting his work. And at the head of that machinery is the Chief of Staff. So I suspect that it just went through the cracks. That's my suspicion. Maybe the Chief of Staff did his job. He went to the Parliament in the absence of the Speaker, and Parliament not being in session, they just put it away. And if that's the case, again, that's a big mistake on the part of whoever received that letter, assuming that letter indeed was sent.
That's Professor Bafo Ajimandua, a governance expert, a former advisor on governance to the United Nations. Paul Kumi is private legal practitioner, constitutional lawyer. He's joining us on the telephone right now. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us. It's clear the details of Article 60 of the 1992 Constitution about the Vice President and the succession to the presidency, and in his absence, or in absence, in this case, the Speaker acting. But then again, we had all three of them out of the jurisdiction well around the same time. We do know that the Vice President is recovering on a medical leave. But then Professor Bafo Ajimandua is of the view that this incident can only be an administrative oversight, not one that was deliberate, really, from the office of the President. I find out your thoughts on this.
Okay, I'm sure that probably Professor wanted to say, and did even add the thing, that is probably what to have been done was not deliberately not done. That is to say that if what was expected to be done was not done, it is not a case that somebody deliberately decided not to do the needful. I'm sure he is trying to more or less water down the effect. And I admire him for that very wonderful way by which he went about it. But there are certain provisions which are mandatory and it behoves persons who are in authority to ensure that things are done very well. When you look at articles, it's clear as to what should be done in the event the president is not available, in the event the president is not available. In the present case, we have the president. The vice is on a medical leave, and so it's not available. And so if the president was going to go out of the jurisdiction, the president will have to first inform the office of the speaker, Parliament, that he has a break. And because the president is aware that naturally,
Hello, Council. If you could reposition for me, we're losing you. Can you hear me?
Okay.
No, it's not too clear. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I think it's better now. Yes.
Yes. Can you let your so I can give you another number?
Okay, that works. We'll try to reconnect with you on this. But that's Paul Comey. He's a constitutional lawyer, private legal practitioner, and talking to us there here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. While we wait for a better connection to him, the New Patriotic Party has been addressing the press on the incident involving the acting CEO of the Ghana Gold Board, Sammy Gyamfi. Now, the New Patriotic Party at that press conference earlier today say that they, according to Henry Nana Boakye, national organizer of the party who addressed the press, they've called on President John Mahama to immediately interdict Sammy Gyamfi from his role as acting chief executive officer of Ghana Gold Board to allow for investigations into his conduct following his public gifting of dollars to a self-styled preacher. Now, this particular incident has also generated some reaction, but for private legal practitioner Martin Pebu, he is of the view that this matter does not warrant any investigation whatsoever. Also, Adam Senano is arguing that the president should look at all the matters at play and do what would send the strong signal of what he intends to do in the fight against corruption. This is what Martin Pebu, private legal practitioner, said on this matter earlier on Ghana Tonight, and then also sharing his thoughts on this particular development as well is Adam Senano, the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, on this particular development in this Sammy Gyamfi case earlier today. Take a listen to him. We'll try to reconnect with them on this particular development, but let's hear specifically Martin Pebu right now on this one and his position on this particular issue when he spoke to us earlier.
Money in the car. Somebody who was standing outside the car took some photos and then entered the man at the car to count. He didn't stand outside to count. So for me, it makes a difference in all of this. I think it's just an attempt by some political elements to seek to achieve an equalization with Cecilia Dapa, which is far-fetched. I actually feel...
Why is that? Why do you think it's far-fetched?
This one, you can see the quantum of money, all right? So you can see that the quantum has no bearing at all, not parallel with the Cecilia Dapa case at all. And yet some people are just funding it. It's as if now, even if we find you with $1 bill, hey, it's a crime. It looks very artificial. I think that, look, this thing we should tread cautiously because, look, MPs, ministers have to do a lot of charity. Your earlier word was benevolence. They have to do a lot of charity. Look, MPs pay school fees, medical bills, wedding bills, I mean, you name them, right? So what is the meaning of this debate we are having? That the MPs should stop doing all that, the ministers should stop. It's not possible. I actually think that, look, everybody who is taking part in this debate should go back and look. Sami Jemfi was standing outside, yet when it came to counting the money, he was in the car.
As Martin Pebo there on this particular one as well, Adam Senano is of the view that this matter needs to be looked at broadly, so that would inform the reaction to what has to be done in addressing it.
He's seen standing outside with Agrada, and she says something. He gets into the car, and obviously one would expect some privacy in the car. So it's not as if it was outside just flaunting money. And then Agrada goes there, and it appears she signals someone to come, who then does some kind of video. On a closer examination, I don't see this as an intentional flaunting of money. And I when I look at how Agrada snatched the rest of the money, we can't even tell how much he had actually extended to her when this happened. And to that extent, yes, the optics don't look good, but I wouldn't impute to him ill motive or intentionality in trying to, show off or anything. That doesn't seem to be the case in this instance.
As Adam Senano is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption there. But before we go on to our story on the city and matters arising, let's see if we have a clear connection to Paul Komeosi, private legal practitioner, constitutional lawyer, on the matter of the absence of the president, the vice president, the speaker of parliament within the same period, creating a power vacuum, which Professor Bafo-Adjumandua indicated is an inadvertent situation that was not essentially intended, but then again blames it on an oversight, essentially, with no ill motive. You were making a point before I lost you on that line.
Yes, my point is to the effect that because at the time the president was leaving the jurisdiction, he is aware that the vice president is on a medical leave. Obviously, the one who is to take over power, so to speak, will be the speaker. Now, when you take a closer look at Article 60(12), it is clear that even the speaker, when he is to take over this temporary role or function as the president, he is expected to take and subscribe the oath as set out in the office of the president. So it is not just a matter of just informing the speaker that, Mr. Speaker, I'm just leaving, so a letter is written. No. After that information has even gone to the speaker, it is expected that certain formality be undertaken by the speaker before the speaker assumes that role to function as a president. If the speaker doesn't swear to that, it's easy he cannot perform that function. It is like a president-elect. If you are not sworn in, you cannot take up the function of a president. So to the extent that the president was leaving the jurisdiction and the vice president be on medical leave, the next person in consideration ought to be the speaker. Now, if the speaker also was not in the jurisdiction, then of course, by our system, we probably have to fall on the Chief Justice, by order of persons of importance in this country. It doesn't look like these things were done. And I think that this is a serious constitutional breach. It is true, as was said by Prof, that this was not intentional. But I think this is a very serious issue which should never be repeated.
All right. And Council, appreciate your time on this matter. Thank you so much for joining us. Paul Kome is a private legal practitioner, constitutional lawyer there. Before we get into the business news this evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. The President, John Dramani Mahama, has been talking, has indicated that government reiterated its commitment to clearing debt in the energy sector, assuring that substantial payments will be made by the end of 2025 or early 2026. President John Mahama, addressing participants at the Africa CEO Summit in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, expressed deep concern over the sector's mounting liabilities, which currently stand at 80 billion Ghana cedis.
The energy sector has been number one in terms of priority on my, to be divine about it, my second coming. And so
it's been a good second coming, I'd say.
Well, Jesus is coming too, so.
That's true.
And so on my second coming, we met a messed up energy sector with debts of almost 2.5 billion owed to independent power producers, to gas suppliers and everybody. And so what the previous government started it, but we're continuing it. They've been trying to renegotiate the debt and then see how we can ring fence it. We have some strategies for dealing with it. And I'm sure that by the end of the year, early next year, we should be able to make everybody happy, you know, in terms of, you know, dealing with that debt. We need to clean the slate. But in cleaning that slate, we must look at the whole value chain, because a lot of the problem is coming from downstream, the distribution end, because of the state-owned utility. ECG is not as efficient in collecting revenue. We are experiencing technical and commercial losses of about 40%. And I think it's only a state-owned enterprise that can survive when you're losing 40% of your revenue.
That's President John Dramani Mahama there. You're still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 and on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Stay with us. The business news with Bismarck Ewusa is up after this quick break.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ewusa. Coming up tonight, as Cedi marks 60 years of existence, Bank of Ghana launches national campaign to reflect on local currencies' checkered history. We'll bring you details. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. The Bank of Ghana has announced a national campaign to commemorate 60 years of the Cedi as Ghana's legal tender, using the occasion to spotlight the currency's turbulent history, past reforms, and its role in shaping Ghana's economic sovereignty. A series of activities will be held nationwide from July to December 2025 to mark the milestone. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details. Ghana's national currency, the Cedi, turns 60 this year, and the Bank of Ghana says it will mark the milestone with activities across the country from July to December 2025. Before Ghana gained independence in 1957, the currency in circulation was the British West African pound. Following independence, Ghana sought to establish its own national currency. On July 14, 1958, the Ghanaian pound was introduced, replacing the West African pound. On July 19, 1965, the Cedi replaced the Ghanaian pound to establish full monetary independence. Since then, the currency has undergone at least 4 major redenominations, most recently in 2007, when 10,000 old cedis became 1 Ghana Cedi to simplify transactions and restore confidence. According to Bank of Ghana data, the Cedi has depreciated by over 99% in value against the US dollar since its inception, with inflation peaking above 120% in the early 1980s and hitting 54% again in 2022 before declining under tight monetary policy. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on the Bank of Ghana announcing a national campaign to commemorate 60 years of the Cedi to reflect on the local currency's checkered history. Moving on, President of the Ghana Insurance Brokers Association, Shaibu Ali, has called on the government to reconsider the 21% value-added tax VAT imposed on non-life insurance policies. He argues that this tax will negatively impact insurance penetration, a long-standing challenge in the sector. The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, implemented the VAT on non-life insurance services starting April 1, 2025, as per the Value Added Tax Amendment Act 2023, Act 1107.
There are some insurance policies that are not compulsory. If you take out motor and then some other policies, most of the remaining policies are not compulsory. Those policies that are not compulsory, if the premium goes up, the clients will not buy. And so if they don't buy, we don't get a commission. The insurance company doesn't get a commission. We all suffer as an industry. That's why we're thinking the government would have looked at some policies like micro-insurance, that the woman selling tomatoes in the market or selling foods at Katamantu would go and buy and pay 10 cedis a week or 10 cedis a month for cover. Those policies should have been taken out of it so that those people will continue to buy them. But government didn't listen. Government plans to implement it. We'll work with it. We know that definitely some people who cannot afford would not buy. Insurance hasn't got an inelastic demand, so they will not buy.
And that was President of the Insurance Brokers Association of Ghana, IBAC, Shaibu Ali. Now, the Tree Crops Development Authority has warned that the country could be losing as much as $22.5 million cedis annually due to the unchecked export of raw rubber. To curb the losses and protect local processing industries, the authority has directed all exporters of rubber, cashew, and shea to seek written approval before shipping these crops. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details.
Ghana currently produces about 100,000 metric tons of rubber annually, but about 40% is exported, much of it unprocessed. Acting CEO of the Tree Crops Development Authority, Dr. Andiose Ukra, therefore emphasized the importance of streamlining the rubber industry. To this end, the authority engaged key industry players at its maiden forum aimed at deepening awareness of the authority's new directive on regulation of unprocessed exports in the rubber, cashew, and shea sectors.
After doing everything, you need to let us know as an authority that this is what you want to export before we give you the permit or we give you the approval to do that.
Abubakari Ibrahim, General Secretary of the Association of Natural Rubber Actors of Ghana, says side selling and unregulated exports have undermined efforts to grow the industry.
When you buy rubber and you lamp them before you send them to factory, you lose water. So we can go for renegotiation so that they can add something extra to the price that we have, be it Ghana Nairobi State Limited, be it Nairobi, any other company, we have to go for renegotiation. You cannot accept the normal market price. That one cannot help.
And that will be all for the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Sports is next. Please stay.
Finest tunes in sync with a soothing voice. 3.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It was a very familiar story for Ghanaian football fans on Monday as the under-20 side, the Black Satellites, lost on penalties at the ongoing under-20 Africa Cup of Nations against host nation Egypt in the quarterfinals. The result means that Ghana would miss out on the under-20 World Cup again. So what went wrong, and was there anything to build on from this campaign? My colleague Mutala Yakubu was watching the match closely and put together this report.
Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for us on the day, because we went into this game thinking that because of the quality we have, these young Pharaohs couldn't stand us. And if you watch the 2 goals that we considered, these are schoolboy errors, basic defending. We couldn't control it and give 2 goals away to the Egyptians. And you could see their bench. Whenever the ball goes in, you could see how surprised they are to have gotten those 2 goals. I think those 2 goals really hurt us, because if we had scored 2 earlier, the Egyptians would not be able to recover. But then we gave out these 2 goals. Yes, we were able to recover. We got the 2 goals back. We thought we would go on and get the 3rd goal. Then the unfortunate happened as we were reduced to 10 men with Asel getting that red card. And at that point, we needed to play with caution. And going into the penalty shootout, they played a little psychological game on us. And it worked when they brought on goalkeeper Mensenawi for Tema. I mean, it played on the minds of the Ghanaians. And as to how Sulemana, who scored Ghana's spot kick to equal the game at 2-2, could not get into the 5 players that would take the penalty. That is scandalous. We need to really take a closer look at that. It's a disappointing one for us not to qualify for the World Cup. I always say that qualifying for the World Cup through the African series is that easy. You can even finish 3rd and just win a game in the quarterfinals, and voila, you have yourself in the World Cup. So this is another disappointing result.
And so that was my colleague Mutala Yakubu speaking there. Abdul Sulemana, who scored the equalizer after coming off the bench, was adjudged as the man of the match and expressed the team's disappointment at missing out on World Cup qualification.
I think we came all out once. It's always hard when you are like 2-0 down and then coming up. We gave all our hearts, and then that's what we're expecting to get a win. But unfortunately, we didn't have the luck on our side, and then we tried our best. That's what matters. The aim was to qualify for the World Cup, and then after qualifying, we prepared to win the trophy. But unfortunately, we are not happy to be out of the quarterfinals. Yeah, we are not happy we are not happy at all.
While the men's under-20 side bow out is full steam ahead of the under-20, the women's AFCON, for the Black Queens, Ghana's senior women's national team has completed a 9-day training camp at the GFA Center of Excellence in Pram Pram. They are gearing for the women's AFCON in Morocco this July. Coach Kim Las-Yoekegren says that the team spent good time together, which is vital for their cohesion.
It has been great. 9 days, like you said, together to get to know even more players. So they have been great. I mean, many trainings and a couple of games as well. So the good thing when you are together for a long time is that you get to know the people. Also, if someone having a bad football day, it's still going to be a chance tomorrow to do it better. So you can really see the talent players and to get to know them, like I said. So overall, really good. I think there have been a few, I will say probably 5, 6 that we will put on the list and look a little bit closer to. Abigail, Nancy, Wasima, for example, but like I said, maybe 2, 3, another 2, 3, I will say. So there are a few that is interesting. Yeah, I think all of the 3 have been good. I think there are technical good. Cynthia, of course, we knew since before, but of the more local ones, I think that Afi have been standing out a little bit, and she's young and very talented as well, so I'm looking forward to see her again. Yeah, we have been testing around with a lot of players, and now we need to get closer to the final pieces. The final piece when it comes to a tactical aspect will be the final third, how to connect with the wingers and the number 9s, and that's maybe the most important part, to create more chances and score more goals, and that's necessary, of course, to win games. So that's the final part that we will work with in the next camp, and like I said, to get closer and closer to something really good, and I'm sure that we'll be ready in Morocco in the summer.
So that was head coach of the Black Queens, Kim Las-Yoekegren. However, we still stay on women's football, and we hear from our in-house expert, that's Akosia J, who briefs us on the tournament's challenges and what to expect from the Black Queens.
Yeah, they are in a very tough group. I mean, if you are in the same group with South Africa, who are the defending champions, you know that you'd have a very, very tough task playing against Desiree Ellis and her team. Last year, one of the reasons why Nora left us was because we did not have enough friendly games to be playing. But this time, the coach have had the opportunity to play. But then South Africa are very sharp. They are playing all these games with these Europeans outside. And so it means that they have their A game on, getting into a tournament that they are going to be defended. Then we are in the same group with Mali and Tanzania. But talking of Mali, in 2018, here in Ghana, when we hosted the tournament, we were in the same group with them. But then we were not able to progress ahead of Mali in that group there. And so it's also going to be a very difficult one. Then Tanzania, we would say maybe they are newbies. But right now in women's football, we do not even want to talk about the fact that they are newbies anymore, because they would surprise you at any time. And so this coach, being this new and having all these windows that he can be playing friendlies, that was the only reason why Nora left. It wasn't because she wasn't paid well or she wasn't getting a good environment to work. She did not get enough friendly games as she wanted to. And so now the coach have had the opportunity to play against Morocco. He's also played 2 games against Senegal. And so these games are to prepare us ahead. But we still have some TV windows, and hopefully we're going to be getting some international friendlies for the girls before we play the women's AFCON, which is in July.
That was my colleague Akosia Eje. Now let's cross borders to Europe, where it's been a historic week for Brazilian football and a controversial one too. Carlo Ancelotti is now officially the first ever permanent foreign manager of Brazil's national team. The 5-time world champions are turning to the Italian after years of underachievement. But not everyone in Brazil is thrilled with the idea of a non-Brazilian at the helm. We got the perspective of Andres Elicheche, who is the chief sports editor of La Nación.
Well, I think that he has a very good opportunity because Brazil is in a very bad moment now, the national team. Remember, Brazil had with Ancelotti the third coach in the last 3 years. It's a lot for develop a project, no? We will have 1 year is big, and for me it's very important that he knows Vinicius, he knows Rodrigo, 2 of the main players now in Brazil. Obviously, he knows and suffered yesterday, Rafinha too, but he has the talent, no? But Brazil need a team. There are different things, no? A lot of talents is a thing, but the teams is another. And Brazil has not a team now.
That was sports journalist from South America, Andres Elicheche, who's a sports editor of La Nación. Now, Ancelotti's imminent move to Brazil means that Xabi Alonso is expected to become the new manager of Real Madrid. Elicheche also spoke on that new appointment.
Well, I think that the decision is correct. It's nice for the Real Madrid future because Xabi Alonso knows the spirit of Real Madrid. Remember that he was a very important midfielder in the past. He was implicated in a lot of titles of Real Madrid, including Champions League in the past, and he's developing a very good career like a coach in Bayer Leverkusen. And well, he's young, he's modern, he has the element to promote a new Real Madrid, no? With Mbappe, with a main star, but he need to.
Let's do some more here and hear from former Dutch international George Barton, who says that he doesn't mind if Liverpool's defender Virgil van Dijk surpasses his record for most Premier League appearances by a Dutch after the Liverpool's played his 300th game in the Premier League against Arsenal on Sunday. After making his breakthrough with Feyenoord in the Dutch Eredivisie, Boahene spent most of his career in England, making 384 Premier League appearances and scoring 17 goals. The Liverpool talisman is just 84 games shy of Boatene's record for the most appearances in the English top flight.
Virgil van Dijk is a fantastic player, one of the best defenders the Premier League have seen. I think he'll be up there, especially in terms of his leadership, the way he leads by an example with his team, with the players, how he scored some crucial goals also during his career. I just love his leadership. Of course, it's an elite ranking, if I may say so, with me having to play 384 games. I think Van der Sar is also on the list, having played, I believe, 300 or also games. So it's not easy, but he's earned it, and he signed a new 2-year deal. That's correct. If anyone can surpass myself, I would more than happy to be second to Virgil van Dijk because of his achievement as a captain of Liverpool, and also the trophies he's won. Winning Premier League trophies is fantastic, and all the others that he's accumulated as a player. He deserved to be number one, but let's see whether beyond the 2 years he will still be.
That is George Watson speaking there, who is the former assistant coach of the Black Stars. Before we go, Novak Djokovic and Andy Murray have mutually agreed to part ways just 6 months after teaming up in a player-coach arrangement. Djokovic, a 24-time Grand Slam champion, won't have Murray by his side for the French Open or Wimbledon later this year. It's been a rocky season for the Serb, who has lost in the first round in 4 of his last 5 events. You can get some more sports stories on our social media handles at 3sports. My name is Ray Kwampofo, and Hot Edition continues right after this.
Welcome back. You're still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and on W93.5 in and beyond. The National Commission for Civic Education has raised strong concerns over the Electoral Commission's refusal to release its old office building months after relocating to a new headquarters. According to the NCC, several letters and approaches to the Electoral Commission requesting access to the vacated offices have been ignored. According to Chair of the Commission, Catherine Addy, even shared spaces within the same building, which were previously used by both institutions, have now been locked up by the Electoral Commission, leaving the NCC in a state of congestion and operational difficulty.
The EC, before they moved to, they used to be here, they had a lion's share of the office space, and we had a smaller share. In fact, as you're going, we'll show you some of the offices so that you see the really tight conditions. If you look at where my director of finance sits, for instance, having that sensitive position, having to share a cubicle, essentially, with others, because we don't have space. We spoke to the Electoral Commission as a sister institution that if they move to their new building, they will open up some of the office space so that we can also spread out a bit and have a better work environment. As we speak, as they were leaving, they locked up the entire building. They locked up, even on this floor, our shared common space, which is the conference room, the entire block from half of the corridor to the end, which used to be the office of the EC chair, and other spaces, they locked it up. Then the boardroom, that's the one here, where the EC chair was using as her office, they locked it up. If you go to the middle floor, even at the big conference room on the on the middle floor that we jointly use, the way we jointly use this one. Last year, when they moved, they locked it up. And then they finally told us that they've turned it into a warehouse or a storage area. So they came and packed some. This is a joint use facility. They came and packed boxes and things, and then they moved to their new building. And we have been following up letters, sought interventions, called all kinds of people, and the matter is still unresolved. Even if they were to open up, start with the space on just this top floor, it will go a long way to ease some of the discomfort that we face as an institution. But this is something that is very heavy on our hearts. It's a very, very critical situation. And our staff, they see the difference in the treatment. First, they were here with us. Every year, they get new cars, they are resourced, they get new pickups. People here who are right in the next office, they don't get anything. Even to the extent that end of year, they are able to afford to give themselves some gifts for the staff. And we don't even have, with this 3.6 million, how are you going to even save some to buy rice for anybody at the end of the year?
That's Kathleen Adi there. Now, Chair of the Parliament's Committee on Independent Constitutional Bodies, Mama Yarga, who led the formalization visit to the NCC today, described the situation as unacceptable.
So we said, but this land, you are wasting it. What we see you have on this land is a total waste. It's a very inefficient use of the land. Can we, as a committee, find a way of getting this thing developed into some 6, 7, 8-story structure, and you share it with NCC? And they were happy. Say, well, we want space. If you do it, and they say we should share with NCC, yes. Why not? We're happy. You are Parliament. That's the kind of thinking that, as we go around and see, then our perception of things on the ground, also gives us some ideas what people need. Because I went to Electoral Commission, they have a very beautiful edifice, a very good working environment to operate from. I wouldn't consider this the most ideal environment that the oldest institutions under our Constitution, institutions that came with the Constitution, are having to function in. And yet you see newer institutions that were enacted by Parliament just a few years ago. And, actors in those institutions are living in comfort and luxury. And yet the older institutions that guarantee the democracy are suffocating and nobody is paying attention to them. So we must fight.
That's Mama Yarga there. Now, still on this, the NCC also highlighted the severe impact of underfunding on its operations, revealing that nearly halfway through the year, no funds have been allocated for its core activities. The Commission says the lack of resources is stalling critical civic education campaigns, including collaborations on national concerns such as illegal mining. The visit to the NCC formed part of a 3-day tour by the committee to engage 6 independent constitutional bodies, assess their challenges, and explore areas for legislative and administrative support.
Manner to make sure that the committee and the commission both deliver on their mandates. So thank you very much for the opportunity to liaise and interact with you. Our doors are always open. Going forward, this is the committee that will serve as an interface between the Commission and Parliament. Since our doors are open, whatever challenges that we are facing, don't hesitate. The committee is made up of the front bench of Parliament, because the chairman is the majority leader and leader of government business. The vice chairman is a minority leader. I'm the first deputy speaker. I'm also a member of this particular committee. So it is our responsibility to ensure that we collaborate with you, really bring the commission up to be able to perform its constitutional function. So once again, thank you very much for the opportunity given us.
That's Bernardo here for ending Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. My name is Alfred Akrofi. Have a great evening. The drive continues.